What have you self-taught yourself that has greatly improved your life? Cooking. I mainly focused on the techniques behind the cooking because I felt that no matter what recipe I tried to copy pasta, it never turned out the way I imagined it. Now I just have to see an ingredient list and I automatically know what to do with it and how to knock a dish out perfectly. Also, I'm finally able to do the mom cooking, what for me is basically making something delicious out of random items I find in the kitchen. I find that's the major problem with learning to cook. There's no readily apparent resources for general cooking skills. 1 billion recipes, but that's not enough. I want to learn the how and why of doing everything. Excel. Seriously, learn this crap, it's easy and everyone thinks you're some freaking messiah, and also it means you can become the ultimate lazy aka efficient worker in the world and people won't understand why you can do their 30k a year job in 5 minutes through your magic use of Excel voodoo. German and NBSP. I started learning using free websites and Netflix shows 4 years ago. Now I'm living in Germany. I have a full-time job in a German-speaking office, and I speak German primarily with my friends and girlfriend. And NBSP. I thought I would spend my life trapped in my American suburban hometown, but instead I managed to pull together a pretty dope life in another country. It still feels unreal to me that you're living your own life and no one else's. Stop making your decisions based on how other people feel. It's okay to take steps that other people might not agree with if you feel it's the right thing to do. Being empathetic is a good trait to have, but don't let it hold you back. This was a hard one for me to learn. Every guy I dated, I pretty much lived my life in service of them and never got much free choice of my own. It wasn't until I ended up in a very abusive relationship that I finally snapped out of it and started living my own life instead of trying to please myself every waking moment. Microsoft Excel. It's amazing what you can do with VLOOKUP, MATCHINDEX, conditional formatting and few simple macros. Once you know how to use the tools, you can create many computer programs that will accomplish laborious tasks easily and quickly, and all your colleagues will think you are a wizard. Recently discovered advanced filter. It was a godsend when I was trying to pull data without having a reference to use MATCHINDEX. Self-care. It wasn't something that was practiced in my home growing up, and I make sure to dedicate time to looking after myself, so that even if I feel like no one else cares about me, I sure as heck do. Face masks, a nice hot bath, a good book, etc. One of the greatest gifts my old housemate, massage therapist, beauty therapist, autocross maniac, accountant and chef gave me was an appreciation for self-care. I get massages at least once a month now in addition to all the other stuff. It doesn't even cost that much because I claim it against my insurance, so it's like $30 a month, maximum. Taking things in moderation. I used to be a pretty hardcore workaholic that worked about 90 hours a week and OCD to boot. Complete neat freak. Then I got really sick and had to slow down to save myself. I taught myself that my house doesn't have to be clean 24/7 and that it can actually look like people live in it. When I'm tackling a big job, I don't have to push myself until I burn out in a blaze of glory at the finish line. I break it down into small and manageable parts, planning the steps to get it done when it needs to be. I also learned to let go of a lot of things that used to stress me. I can't afford to stress over stupid things that I cannot control. I just let all of that go, and well, life is infinitely better that way. Getting sick, in some odd ways, was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, as now I actually live. Touch typing, reading skills, as well as spelling grammar. I'm still not the best at the latter, but I used to be terrible at spelling, especially as a kid. I became heavily interested in reading when I was a teenager, about 15-16, and since then I've tried to broaden my own horizons. It's filtered out into my speech as well, and I enunciate more clearly than I did before, and cleared up my terrible local accent a bit. Typing came from being a teen during the dawn of the internet, but it's greatly helped me, as I work with computers and type every day. I can confirm that the internet is a fantastic typing teacher. The typing class in school got me to about 20 words a minute, and I never improved. Then I started playing World of Tanks, and I learned to insult my teammates at 90 words a minute. How to use a computer mouse with my left hand. I play a lot of PC games and also work a computer for my job. Spreading the strain between both hands helped my wrist and forearm a lot. This only works if you don't have a right left-handed mouse. How to cook is the first thing that came to mind. Cooking is great for a lot of reasons, but here are the highlights. Cooking is way cheaper than going out to eat. You get to make the meal just how you want it, right down to the seasonings and amounts of said seasonings. You get to experiment, which for me means how many savory dishes can I add hot sauce or diced jalapenos to. Cooking yourself is generally much healthier than processed foods and eating out. Make large batches and your lunch for the next day is already prepared. On my break today I'm gonna eat homemade quesadillas with a jalapeno cheddar tortilla and homemade salsa. You already know there's hot sauce and diced jalapenos on this dish. No matter who you are, guy, girl, straight, gay, anywhere in between or beyond, cooking is an attractive skill. Men, if you prepare a nice steak dinner with fresh cut potatoes and a little atmosphere, candles, she'll practically bend over for you. Ladies, honestly, same. Cooking yourself is generally much healthier than processed foods and eating out. Seems like you'd run out of the main ingredient pretty quickly. To put my keys in the same ashtray every day. If I notice they're not in there, I immediately locate them and put them there. Same goes for shades. I trained myself case discipline for a year before buying myself a prissy pair. Not on the face, in the case. Major respect. I know I'm at the point where I can afford to buy myself nicer things. I just don't take care of them well enough yet. I did not get myself a nice pair of sunglasses this year for that reason. To stop giving a crap what people think of you. I mean people that you don't love. I spent my 20s worrying about what people thought. Exhausting. Made me happy or happy-ish. I read some time ago on Reddit this one advice. If something would take you less than 2 minutes, do it right away. It's amazing how well it works. Not really self-taught though. Okay, I am gonna go stab someone. The grass is always greener. Regardless of what situation you're in, you fantasize about the alternatives. I am teaching myself to be thankful for the experiences I am able to have instead of being regretful of what didn't happen. After all, the grass is only greener because it's fertilized with crap. Maybe the grass is greener because you're not over there fricking it up. Thanks, Mom. Cooking. My mom was a terrible cook. All veggies were from a can or the freezer. She either didn't season things or she smothered it in garlic or some gross sauce. She would thaw food on the counter or in the sink, would not hear about the danger zone. So, I became a really picky eater. After I left the house, I had to learn to cook for myself. For a while, my husband and I lived off of the dollar menu. Then, I started to cook a little. It wasn't great, but it was edible. I started watching cooking shows and it helped. I leaned to season things. I made fresh vegetables. I learned how to balance flavors. Now, I am a good home cook. People love to come over when they know I am cooking. My husband also learned how to cook while I did, and we both have our strengths. He makes me feel like a gourmet chef when he compliments my food. I also had to learn to do my own laundry and clean. My mom wasn't great at those and would never let me do my own laundry. She loved having me depend on her in an unhealthy way, and I went no contact with her in May. One time, I was trying to do laundry. I didn't know it was the concentrated kind and I put a whole cap full in the laundry. We had bubbles coming out of the toilet. My husband handled laundry for a bit after that. LOL. But I learned. Now, my house is nice and clean. I am more confident and I know the importance of maintaining a house that I would have never learned from my family. Most important, learning to make boundaries and stick to it. No is a complete sentence. I also know that it doesn't make me a bad person to say no to unreasonable requests. It can still be hard, but I am much better about it. My parents thought I was picky. Turns out that my mom was a hit and miss cook. Some things she cooks are absolutely delicious. Many things are absolutely inedible. There wasn't often a middle ground. For the record, beef stew should not look or taste like oatmeal. And her oatmeal, well, it should not look or taste like a brick. The most important thing you can learn, in my opinion, is how to learn. Specifically, how to process information. separate useful and useless knowledge, and figure out how to know what you need to know as quickly and efficiently as possible. I firmly believe most people who are smart aren't naturally more talented than most other people, and just know this skill. How to work. You would not believe how many people I've seen that can't hold a simple 9-5/412. I honestly believe my time dishwashing and cleaning prepared me for the tougher things in life. It gave me a point that I can compare anything I'll ever encounter and say it's better than being dish B. As a current dish bitch, I'm hoping that something of my work ethic comes if it. The job sucks but I work hard, and hopefully when I graduate and get a good job that it'll pay off in the end. Some programming which I learned on Codecademy. I recently got a new position at my company because I showed an understanding of coding and a willingness to learn. I have no post-secondary education in this area, so it has helped me tremendously. Reading a room during a group dinner, conversations, or work meetings. You can look very intelligent having snappy and intuitive reactions when you can see and read what people are thinking or wanting. Routine car maintenance. It will save you so much money in the long run. I have a 2002 Subaru WRX as a project car right now, and I just did the steering rack bushings, inner and outer tie rods, struts and brakes all around. Wouldn't even want to guess what a shop would have charged me for that. Looked up your account to see the WRX. All I got were some mushrooms. I feel betrayed. I have ADHD. My brain is constantly turning at what feels like a million mph. I taught myself guitar years ago. It's still the only thing I can totally focus on while I am doing it. Like meditation, I suppose. My mind goes quiet. The quick method to fold my t-shirts in 2 seconds. I had to watch the YouTube tutorial several times, but it paid off big time in the long term. Also the Windsor tie knot. Learning magic tricks is very simple. Doing them first. I just wanted to see my family gasp as they were fooled, but I decided to learn more and get better at them so I could get even better reactions from them. It's so great and stress relieving to see people genuinely confused, amazed simultaneously. It's a good habit to go back to every once in a while, seeing what other tricks I can come up with or different ways I can pursue them. I'll never see myself getting a career in this, just a fun thing I like to do on my spare time. My dad used to be huge into AutoCAD. I found out even high school students get a free copy. Taught it to myself and got an easy A in all my CAD classes so far. Tons of jobs available for those with this skill. Great skill to fall back on and surprisingly useful planning home renos. That nobody cares about your problems more than you do. It sounds negative, but it was helpful for me to develop perspective and avoid falling into neediness or self-centeredness, and trust my own judgments to figure things out. True. From my observation, my mom always tells her problems with her friends, but I always found that her friend isn't really listening, and instead her friends either shut down the conversation or started switching topics. Touch typing. It was one of the most mundane tasks goals I've ever given myself, but without it I would have struggled in university. Being able to smash an essay out in no time, narrowly avoiding the cutoff time, saved my bacon many times. It's just such a handy skill to have in life in general. I taught myself to do this a couple of years ago. Problem is, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't touch type on a QWERTY keyboard because inevitably I would start looking down at my hands. I decided that the only way I was ever going to learn to touch type was if I couldn't see the keys. Now I'm that guy in the office who types in Dvorak. Personal finance principles. From 2007 to 2010 I read about 24 personal finance and investing books and read personal finance blogs every day. My husband and I went from $35,000 in student loans to being debt-free with about $20,000 in savings. This has absolutely improved our lives. Programming. My degree is in mechanical engineering, but all of my work experience, all of my money, is from computer science stuff, mostly just because I am good at it. How to let go. Drop the stress about things you can't change. Don't freak out that the dog ate the couch, or the traffic jam you're currently in. Let it go, but change the things you can change. Can I fix it now? Then do it bloody now. I will sew that goddamned couch up. I will pull that employee into line. I will set up a strategy for accountability so that employee stays in line, etc. Stop trying to fix crap you can't fix. Let it go. So much clarity and mental space now, personally and professionally. This is difficult in some situations. If you need to take time to let it go, do so. Kill them with kindness. Very cliche, but it's true. I was always kind of a crap talker growing up, but I've realized that everyone has their own problems. Simply walking away or ignoring a confrontation can be tough, but it'll be worth it in the end. Also, admitting you're wrong at times, that may be difficult to do so. If you're honest and kind to people, then situations become easier and people are more understanding. If they aren't understanding, then just walk away. Not worth your breath. This doesn't mean be a pushover. You can still stick up for yourself, but there are good and bad ways to do so. My mom never taught me how to be self-sufficient at all. She convinced me, and doctors, that I had a multitude of disorders so I would never leave home and she could live off of SSDI. We fought a lot when I was a teenager, and I moved out when I was 18. So I had to start from the ground up. I taught myself how to pay bills, how to cook, clean, apply for jobs, develop interview skills, and most importantly, self-love. I had to teach myself to believe in myself and not fear the unknown. I had to learn that the disorders I do have don't define me, and I'm in control of my behaviors, although not always my emotions. I have a good job and a beautiful family now, and believing in myself has brought that into my life the most. Beating around the bush. I used to be that guy who made grand, sweeping generalizations and extrapolated from incomplete data. Now, instead of declaring everyone I know, or people say, I always preface my remarks with research studies I've read first. A lot that I know about computers I taught myself when I first went away to college. I never had my own PC growing up, but then again, in the mid-90s and early 2000s, most families only had one family PC in the living room or family room. When I got to college, I went crazy. I downloaded games. I downloaded music. I downloaded P. And with all that, I downloaded a lot of viruses. I had to troubleshoot a lot by looking things up on my roommate's PC and then hotfixing issues on my PC. I had to reformat my PC twice in the first 2 months at school. We also didn't have Wi-Fi in our dorms. Since we were a small school in New Hampshire and only the main buildings had reliable Wi-Fi, and our dorms were the furthest from campus, so everyone's computer was wired, but for some reason, so many of our PCs wouldn't connect to the school's network. I eventually found a workaround to connect my PC, and before I knew it, I was connecting every PC in our dorm to the internet. I don't remember how I did it now, but everyone thought I was some computer guru. For the rest of my time at school, I was fixing people's computers. This was invaluable, not only because I could fix my own stuff, but it helped introduce me to everyone in my dorm. I was very shy in high school and wanted to branch out in college, but had no idea how. Sitting in someone's room for 30 minutes, fixing their computer, gives you time to talk and get to know people. A lot of my friends for the next 4 years I met in those first couple months at college, setting up or fixing their computers. I still troubleshoot any issue I have on my own and will try for days before calling in backup. That money isn't important. I used to stress all the time about money and not having as much as I wanted, so I decided that it wasn't going to stress me out anymore. I started to tip excessively and in places that people wouldn't normally tip. I started to treat my friends to things that weren't necessary. After about a year or two of this, I realized that giving money away actually made me happier than having more of it. It was the best decision of my life, hands down. Worrying about money is truly a trap. A couple bucks here and there will not change my life in any way, but giving it to others does. While I do understand your point, this is really not universal. Money is important. Without money, you freaking starve and go homeless. Maybe not greatly, but basic videography and video editing just made it so I could do a lot more work at my current job so we could get more content out. The hope is when I start hunting for a better gig this year, it'll be a lot more marketable because I'm a one-stop shop for YouTube multimedia production right now. except for anything graphical. I haven't met a lot of videographers around me that had any real understanding of audio apart from basic recorders. Ex-wife were getting fancy, and brick wall compression. Computers it, a hobby turned into a career that's given me not only financial security now, but barring some medical issue, will give me financial security until the end of my life. How to be an extrovert when situations call for it. I'm shy and introverted as a norm. My extroverted behavior is a learned behavior. I still have to recharge, but now people think I'm funny and friendly, and I can more easily slip away when I need to because I've established that outgoing baseline as social grease. To think positively instead of negatively helps with depression and anxiety immensely. There's always more than one way to look at things. How to cook. Growing up, my mom was deaf at kids' cuisine type of mom. We had the basics always and that was it. I remember it being a huge deal when I was like 14 and she put some powdered garlic on some canned green beans. I never even saw how a plain chicken breast was cooked. She never would make that. Her attitudes toward food made me be a super picky eater for years until I was not living with her much and was exposed to so many other foods. Mom rarely steps foot in an actual grocery store. She still generally does boxed stuff from Dollar General. I started out making pasta salad because I had some at her friend's and asked her mom for the recipe and started collecting recipes from random places. Now I just look online. Learning to relax and not get as stressed out about my grades because I've always been the top of my class, and if a B slips in then who cares. I used to get in bad moods based on if my concepts I was learning were easy or difficult and if I understood it or not. Now I'm much more laid back about it and look bigger picture since I'm in college. Organization skills. I tried for a long time, but now that I have my ADHD sorted out, somewhat organizing is possible. I'm getting homework done early. I'm keeping my house clean. I'm making important phone calls before the deadline. It's pretty awesome. Not gonna lie. Thinking. I was raised in a religious and magical thinking household. It seemed normal to me, except so many unanswered questions. So much feeling that I was missing something. Slowly I learned to ask questions and not fill in the answer with predetermined belief. Slowly, I accepted that my presumed point of view could be and was wrong in many cases. The world and life has gotten so much bigger and mysterious and as scary as it can be. It is so much more fulfilling and exciting to discover. Compartmentalization. I've had friends comment how nothing ever seems to bother me. I am able to keep my priorities in check and enjoy the joys of life without spending too much time focusing on the negative. It's given me a healthy state of mind. How to use a multimeter. They look scary to newcomers, but they are super useful. Is that power socket working? My toaster isn't working. Is there any power in the socket? Is the cable broken? Where does the power stop? Is this battery any good? Where does this cable go? Is this thing connected to that thing? How much power does this thing use? This wire is getting hot. What is causing that? All of these questions and more can be answered with a multimeter. Cooking. By far, the amount of grown adults in their late 20s to early 30s that are intimidated by making rice, caramelizing onions or chopping vegetables is insane. Just the other night I heard one of my friends brag about making chicken and rice, the microwave kind, like it was a 6-course meal. Listen, not saying you need to be making creme brulee or trying to mimic things you see on the Food Network, but making a basic healthy meal should be something that all adults are capable of. If store-bought pasta and sauce or chicken and rice is your definition of busting your butt in kitchen, you need to step your game up. Also, cooking is a very attractive quality in both men and women. No one is expecting you to blow them away with your mastery of French cuisine, but if you can whip up a few tasty dishes, that will almost always score you some points. Programming. Went from $10 hour retail heck to $42k year salary when I got my first programming job. Let me tell you that nothing got my heart pounding more than seeing that salary on an offer letter. Totally life-changing salary. I felt like I had won the lottery. Over the course of 6 years, I worked my way up to a $120k year salary. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.